Hi, it's me, Dr. Prasad Pudilam. Continuing my class for second PU, plus 2 chemistry, unit 1 solid state, class number 7. Here I am explaining about electrical properties as well as magnetic properties. So, electrical conduction. You might have observed that through the transmission line, current we call it simply called as the current line. If some trees are falling by accidentally falling on or touching the transmission line, and we feel shock if you pass nearby, if it is moisture conditions are there. Whereas a person, if he touches the transmission line, then also he feels the shock. Whereas birds, they will not feel the shock. Person which is standing from the earth surface or from ground, if he touches that one, he feels shock. Whereas if he can hang from on that, say without any non-conducting materials on that, that means naked, then he may not feel the shock. Okay, so here we can say that this because electrical conduction, it is the movement of electrically charged particles through a transmission medium. That means transmission is possible only if there is a difference in the potential. Okay, from higher potential to lower potential. Through the bird, there is no change in potential. Okay, therefore a bird which is standing on the transmission line, a person which is hanging on that, there is no change in potential as such. Therefore it is a non-conductor. You can say that it is a resistor. It acts as a resistor. Therefore they will not feel the shock. Therefore it requires a conducting or transmission medium is there. Then the movement of electrically charged particles, it may be positive charge or negative charge, that movement causes electrical conduction. Okay, based on conductivity property, the solid can be classified as conductors. Say brass is an example for conductor, bronze or metal sludge, steel, copper, aluminium, cast iron. That is metals mainly. Almost all we consider as metal or alloys. Okay, they are good conductors. They are best example for conductors. There are known as semiconductors. You might have seen many semiconductor devices in our mobile handset or laptop or any other electronic gadgets. So they are semiconductor device which consists of a semiconductor inside. That material used is semiconductor. So this is the device as such. And insulators. So you might have seen this type of insulators in electrical transmission wire line, or even wood or plastic. They used as or they treat as insulators. Okay, because their conductivity range for conductors, they have very high conductivity range from 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 7 ohm inverse, meter inverse, or mho meter inverse. Okay, ohm inverse we call it as mho. Okay, for semiconductors it is in between, or say we can say 10 to the power minus 6 to 10 to the power 10 to the power 4 ohm inverse, meter inverse. That means the conductivity is not so high, but still it has having the conduction property. Whereas insulators, it is very less. The conductivity is very less, 10 to the power minus 20 to 10 to the power minus 10. Okay, therefore it depends on the band gap, or if you see the valence band and conduction band. Say if a atom or molecule or a matter, a solid matter, if the electrons present in that atomic structure, if the electrons are strongly held with that nucleus, then they are not free to move. Okay, electrical conduction means that is movement of electrons or movement of positive charge. If electron is not there, then we can say that a positive charge is there. Okay, here the electrons are not free, or they are not free to conduct. Therefore, there is a high energy difference. So high energy is required for the electron to move. Or if the electrons are having higher energy, it is not stabilized, it is having higher energy, then we can say that it is in conduction band. In case of insulator, they are stable, they are having very low energy. The band gap between valence band and conduction band is very large. Therefore, they will not conduct electricity. Whereas in case of semiconductors, there is a band gap, energy difference is there. The electrons at valence band, as well as the same electron, if you want to convert into conduction or make it to move, that is conduction band, some energy we have to supply, external energy we need to supply. Therefore, in case of semiconductors, there is a very small band gap. Whereas in case of conductors, the energy, there is no energy difference as such with the valence band and conduction band, or they are fused. That means when if you connect to an electric circuit, immediately it will start conducting. Okay, there is no need of any other external source. It can conduct electricity easily. Therefore, we call it as conductors. Okay, so in case of semiconductors or conductors, it is clear that they are conductor. It can be used as such for conductant properties. Whereas insulators, it is very difficult to convert them to conduct electricity, or even thermal energy also to conduct. Whereas semiconductors, there is a possibility that we can overcome this band gap, or we can use some extra energy, or we can make more electrons free. Okay, the best way is to create more free electrons so that it gets a higher energy. Free electron means energy is more, it is free, therefore it can be used for conduction property. Such process can be done by adding impurities which gives extra electron, or impurity which takes some electron, so that energy difference covers the band gap. That process is known as doping. Doping is the introduction of electronic impurities. Electronic impurity means adding another compound which will give either free electron or which produces positive charge, when we call it as electronic impurities, so that it can be used for electronic conduction, for electrical conduction. Say usually the semiconductors are group 14 elements. They are silicon or germanium. Okay, carbon also it is used, but silicon and germanium is mainly used for semiconducting device applications. They can form four covalent bonds, because the atomic number, it says that it forms the outermost orbital has got four electrons, therefore it can form four covalent bonds, and it will be almost stable. You can see the silicon 14, it gives 3s2 3p2 electronic configuration with that of neon. Neon plus 3s2 3p2, therefore four electrons are there, it can form four covalent bonds. Like that, germanium also, outermost orbital is 4s2 4p2, it can form four covalent bonds. Therefore, we take the example of silicon. Silicon forms four covalent bonds, or it can form bond formation. It can form, you can share the electrons with other silicon molecules in a silicon lattice or a silicon structure, a sheet of silicon. If you take, it can form strong covalent bond. Okay, and it is stable. It can conduct electricity. We can call it as intrinsic semiconductor. But to make it a good conductor or extrinsic semiconductor, we have to add either impurity which gives electron, or impurity which takes the electron. Say suppose to that structure of silicon, if you can introduce a compound of group 15 or element of group 15. Okay, so this is group 15. We also call as nitrogen group. Okay, so if say phosphorus is added, phosphorus is having 5 valency. Okay, so it is group number 15. It is 4s2, 3s2, 3p3. Okay, therefore total 5 electrons are there in the outermost orbital. If it is added to the silicon lattice, or if you replace any of the silicon, few silicon with phosphorus, it creates one extra electron or free electron. Okay, extra electron gives the negative charge. Therefore, this type of doping with a negative charge can be called as N-type semiconductor. Therefore, this is a semiconductor which is having negative charge in the crystal lattice. We call it as N-type semiconductor. So, on applying current here, or by giving electron, movement of electron is known as electrical conduction. By giving or by supplying electron to one side, or by connecting to electronic circuit, these free electrons can move. It can replace the electrons. Electrons can move through the lattice. Okay, move through the structure, and the conduction is possible. Now, if you can add a group 13 element, say that is boron family. Okay, if you can add a group 13 element, say example boron itself. Boron has got only 3 electrons in the outermost orbital. Therefore, if you add to this crystal lattice of silicon, if you add that impurity, okay, one silicon is replaced with boron, it creates a hole there. Okay, so that hole, actually it is one electron less, or here it feels a positive charge. Therefore, we can call it as positive type or p-type semiconductor. Okay, here also conduction is possible. You may feel that there is no electron, how it can conduct. Okay, so conduction is possible. I can represent it. Here these electrons can move wherever holes are there. The electron will move to that hole. Then there a valency is created. Then further the next electron will move to that site. Then a valency is created there. Okay, so here it is represented the movement of electrons to the hole. Further the next electron will move to satisfy that or to that position. Or we can say that the positive charge is moving or the hole is moving from the side, it is moving through the structure. If we apply a positive and negative charge, that is, it is connected to the electronic circuit or it is connected to a given to a electronic circuit. Applications of N-type and P-type semiconductors, say a mixture of N-type and P-type silicon, if it is fused together. Okay, so only N-type and P-type fused together, then we can use it as a diode, which is used as a switch, or we can call it that as a diode, which is used as a switch, or even a P-N together, that combination, it can also be used as a rectifier to convert AC voltage to DC voltage. Okay, so further its application, everything is study in electronics class. Okay, so chemistry I can say only I'll stop here. Okay, so a rectifier converts the AC voltage to DC voltage, whereas a diode it is used as a switch. Okay, so these two are a device made up of a N-type semiconductor as well as P-type semiconductor fused together. Okay, depletion layer formation, everything you will be studying in detail. Okay, so application of N-type and P-type continuation. If you can make a sandwich, say N-type is kept in between that of 2P, or P-type silicon or P-type semiconductor is kept in between that of 2 N-type semiconductor, then we can say as PNP or NPN. Okay, it is used as a transistor mainly. So transistor is a semiconductor device used to amplify, is to make it higher, or it is used as a switch. Okay, that is to amplify or to switch, which means on off. Okay, in electronic signal and in electrical power. Okay, so transistors also you heard about transistors, PNP type or NPN type transistors are there. Okay, then these mixtures of group 13 and group 15. Okay, we seen the semiconductors like silicon, gallium. Such type of semiconductors or semiconductors can also be formed by combining the elements of group 13 as well as elements in group 15. Say example, if indium is mixed with antimony, indium antimony compound. Okay, it is not mixed, you have to make it react. So indium antimony compound, it is also act as a semiconductor. So this is the indium antimony, how it looks. It look like indium antimony. The presentation was given there, picture. So aluminum phosphide is also an example for a semiconductor between group 13 and group 15. The element mixed, not just mixing, they reacted to give a compound aluminum phosphide. Okay, this is the aluminum phosphide tablets. Then gallium and arsenide, gallium as well as arsenide combined to give gallium arsenide. Okay, black colored, shiny, black color shiny surface. Therefore, it used as a windows and okay. So gallium arsenide semiconductor have very fast response and have revolutionized the design of semiconductor device. It is having a better application in case of a mixture of group 13, group 15, that type of semiconductors. Now let us see a group 12 and group 16 combination. Then also it can form a semiconductor. So group 12, that is a zinc family, and group 16, that is this oxygen family. So these two different type of elements of group 12 and group 16, if they combine. Okay, so only group 12 and group 16 is taken. So example, from group 12 zinc and from group 16 sulfur, they made to react to form zinc sulfide. So this is the zinc sulfide. It can act as a semiconductor, or cadmium sulfide. So this is it looks like cadmium sulfide look, it appears like this, or mercury telluride. mercury 2 telluride. Oxidation state of mercury here is 2. For mercury telluride is black in color. Okay, these are example for compound which gives semiconducting property. Some transition metal oxides. So transition metals you can see in middle of that periodic table. Okay, so these are transition metals. Okay, combines with oxygen, it becomes transition metal oxides. Example, titanium oxide. Titanium oxide, it looks, appearance is like this. It behaves like metal. That is, it acts as it behaves like metal means it is a conductor, not a semiconductor. It can conduct electricity. Or chromium 4 oxide, CrO2, that is say greenish in color. It can also behave like metal. Rhenium trioxide, okay, so it looks like that of copper. Okay, rhenium trioxide, the color is given there. Like it behaves like metallic copper in conductivity property as well as appearance. And some other oxides like vanadium oxide, vanadium monoxide, you can say, vanadium dioxide or VO3 as well as TiO3, they also show metallic as well as insulating property depending upon the temperature. If you vary the temperature, it acts as the conductor as well as becomes insulator on increasing temperature. Therefore, with the temperature, we can control the conduction properties of these compounds. So it has got some particular applications also. Now, magnetic properties. All the magnetic properties is due to the pole separation, like a north pole, south pole, like that. Okay, so if you consider the compounds, there is no north pole or south pole, whereas there are electrons. Electrons can spin either in clockwise, anti-clockwise direction or clockwise direction. They can spin. Okay, electron itself, it can spin in its own orbit, or electrons can also spin around the nucleus. That is a circular motion. Okay, so these movements, okay, if I vary the polarity, it will also vary. Okay, therefore every substance has a magnetic property associated with it. Very little magnetic property will be there, even though if it is not a magnet. The origin of these properties mainly lies in that of electron, because it can spin in its own orbit or it can spin around the nucleus. Therefore, its orbital motion around nucleus or its spin around its own axis makes every material has little bit magnetic property. Okay, it will varies. Okay, so the magnetic properties because of the current pass, the current form because of the movement of electron, spin movement or slash orbital movement. The magnitude of magnetic moment is measured in magneton, that is mu b. If it is very less, means it is not magnetic, but still it will not be attracted to a magnetic material, but still we can say that it is magnetic. Okay, therefore Bohr magneton, it is equal to 9.27 into 10 to the power multiplied by 10 to the power minus 24 ampere meter square. Okay, we'll see some classification of magnetic material. Say, or magnetism, it is can be classified as paramagnetism or diamagnetism, ferromagnetism, antiferromagnetism, and ferrimagnetism. These are the different types of magnetism or magnetic properties. Say, if a material, it is weakly attracted to a magnetic field, weakly attracted to a magnetic field, then such type of compounds we can say as showing paramagnetism, or they are paramagnet. Or if some substances, they are weakly repelled. Okay, the first one, it is attracted weakly. Here also it is weakly, very less, whereas it is repelled. Then we can call it as a diamagnetism, or material as diamagnetic. If it is strongly attracted or it forms a permanent magnet, that is ferromagnetism. Strong magnets, we have to tell that them as a ferromagnet, or it shows ferromagnetism. From that ferromagnetism, two categories are there. Antiferromagnetism, in which the magnetic domains, the spin, whatever the domains which creates, they cancels because they are anti-parallel. It is arranged opposite to each other, therefore they get cancels. We call it as antiferromagnetism. The representation will be given. Ferrimagnetism, in which the domains, the magnetic domains are opposite direction, but they are not equally arranged. The parallel and anti-parallel are not equal. Therefore, it shows little bit better magnetic property than that of anti-ferromagnetic material in presence of a strong magnet. But as soon as we remove that, this magnetic property will be slowly diminishing, or which on heating or changing the temperature also, the magnetic property it loses. We call it as ferrimagnetism. Okay, so these categories: weakly attracted is paramagnet, weakly repelled, that is diamagnet, strongly attracted, that is magnetic property or magnet itself, that is we call as ferromagnet. Or if the magnetic domains are opposite, it is a strongly attracted, but it is not showing the magnetic property because the magnetic domains are getting cancelled because they are oppositely arranged, or ferrimagnetic properties. Okay, these three cases it is schematically represented here. Ferromagnetism, that is in presence of magnetic field, the domains are arranged to one particular direction so that it is forms strong attractive forces. Whereas antiferromagnets, in which alternate domains are oppositely arranged so that the total effect it get cancelled, but it is a magnet, but it's because of this particular domain arrangement it is known as antiferromagnetism. Whereas ferrimagnets, they have parallel and anti-parallel, but it is not equal. Okay, so here represented for 2 parallel, 1 anti-parallel. So such cases we call it as ferrimagnetism. Okay, so example for paramagnetic materials are oxygen, copper ion, or component made up of copper, Fe3 plus compound containing Fe3 plus, compounds containing Cr3 plus. They are weakly attracted towards magnetic field. Whereas water molecule, sodium chloride or C6H6, they are weakly repelled. We call it as diamagnetic material. Or iron, cobalt, nickel, gadolinium, or chromium oxide, they are strong magnet. MnO, manganese oxide, is an example for antiferromagnetic material and or showing antiferromagnetism. And Fe3O4, magnesium, it's magnesium and zinc, that is MgFe2O4 or zinc ferrite, magnesium ferrite and zinc ferrite, they show ferrimagnetism. So these are the interesting examples for different magnetic properties. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe my channel. I'll stop this presentation here. Once again, thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.